Mets were actually still in the mix, and I came back, obviously Tuesday this week. You're back today, and I know you were back all last week, but the fact of the matter is they have fallen, kind of like the San Diego Padres have fallen. I think the Red Sox have stopped their fall, but there are two teams, San Diego and the New York Mets, and the Phillies, I guess you could say, too, because the Phillies lost to Tampa Bay again last night. It is what it is, man. It's a disastrous season. This was a disastrous 13-game run. We talked about this 13-game run. They have only won 2 of the 12 that they have played. They're going to play the last one today. It has been an unmitigated disaster, and there's a lot of things to look at. And, of course, the decision to take Taijuan Walker out of the game last night was obviously on the front of everybody's mind last night at the game. And, unfortunately, Luis Rojas is hearing it now from the fans. But, again, it goes back to offense. You have so many opportunities, and the Giants, in just an unbelievable ninth inning last night defensively, tried to get a game to us. So, look, you had the bases loaded. You had your best hitter up there, and, he meekly pops out to second base. And it's really unfortunate because I like the kid, and I love his enthusiasm. I love his positivity, and he's going to be here for a long time, and he should be here for a long time. But there's something wrong with the team. There's something, and I was saying this to Jerry yesterday, and I don't know if you see it the way I see it. There's just something wrong with the dugout. There's something wrong with the mix of the players. There's something wrong. There's so much negativity around the team now. And this is what happens. And, Francisco Lindor is feeling like what it means to be a superstar in New York, and you're not performing. Oh. Now, I know he's been hurt, but prior to that, he wasn't performing offensively, and he's not performing offensively now since he's been back. Javi Baez has been basically nothing, swinging and making stupid base running mistakes and all sorts of stuff. And you're like, how does a guy that's supposedly so good come here and then completely become so bad?
And we've seen it how many times in the history of the organization. Now, but I'm like, we got a long way to go in his contract, but this has been a miserable season.
Well, that's Lindor. I'm talking about Baez. Think about Baez, what he did in the first. Like, how do you just run yourself into an out when this is part of the problem that your team is having offensively? You got to be and I know last night because they were talking about it on the game. You got to pull out all the stops. You got to try to manufacture runs if you're not doing it normally and all this other stuff. But that was just boneheaded play.
Sure, I mean, he wasn't even looking. It was sort of like, oh, this ball is dropping in. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to third base, and then bang, bang, double play, run yourself out of another end.
And it was just it was just a really bad mistake. I don't know how else to put it. And then you combine that with the pitch the other night that went viral that he swung at that he missed by 6 feet.
Yep.
And everything else. And he's been an unmitigated disaster coming here, and he gets hurt when he gets here. And you would think that somehow, those two guys, Lindor and Baez, back in the lineup together again would maybe ignite this team, and it hasn't done anything. It's done the opposite, actually. Yeah. And that's why there's a mix here going on that does not look like it's together. Now, they may disagree with me. I'm just going by what I see as a former athlete. I don't think the players on this team really like each other.
Yeah,
losing, I think, amplifies that. And the manager's stuck in the middle of it. He's trying to make decisions to win ball games. He's not trying to lose ball games, that's for sure. He's in over his head. He wasn't supposed to be a manager in the first place. It was supposed to be Carlos Beltran. Remember that. They wanted to give him a full year to see what he could do, to see if he could actually get this team to play for him. Obviously, the team is not playing for him. I don't know if there's a disconnect between the front office and the players in the dugout right now. Jeff McNeil is lost. He's making mistakes in the field. He can't get a key hit.
Oh, he won't be here next year. Conforto won't be here next year. I think that it's going to be a mini blow-up. I don't think it's going to be a full-blown blow-up, but there's going to be a mini blow-up. Manager,
yes. Well, that's not
front office.
That's not mini.
Well,
that's
manager,
not mini.
front office. Yeah, I guess we're going full-blown blow-up.
Hey, guy, we're
blowing it the hell up.
They're not going to win with this mix of players. And I know that DeGrom, we get good news that he's actually throwing again, and Syndergaard's going to throw now. Also, it's too late.
Just in time.
I would shut down DeGrom myself. But I know. I bet you internally, this is what they're saying to themselves. If you look at the games that are left. Now, the problem is we have such a sample size of the Mets offense that to think that the last 25 games of the year that all of a sudden they're going to turn it on is unlikely. But I know that in big picture wise, they're looking at, Atlanta's schedule and they're looking at their own schedule, and they will have an opportunity to play some bottom feeding teams. The problem with playing bottom feeding teams is that you have become a bottom feeder yourself.
Yeah, you're a tilapia yourself. You know, you can't be looking at the rest of the flounder and the fluke and not realizing that that's what you are as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't want the Mets to win a few games, sort of feel like they're in it in September because they're feasting off a bad part of the schedule, still not make the playoffs, and then hang on thinking that next year's going to be any different. I don't want to see that.
It reminds me of, and Eddie's not there, so I can talk about it. It reminds me of the New York Rangers. Let's beat the Devils, and let's beat the Sabres, and let's think that we're a playoff team, and then when we get back to playing the really good teams, we're going to get our asses kicked and our asses handed to us.
Sure.
And then guess what? We're not going to have a mini blow-up. We're going to have a major blow-up.
Major.
Because the owner is not going to sit by watching idly that his team is going to get its ass kicked both on the scoreboard and on the ice. It's the same thing what's going on with the Mets right now. If you're Steve Cohen, you're sitting here. Now, he's a fan, and I'm sure you guys read his tweet last week and all this other stuff. You know, he's not going to sit by and watch this. And he hears the fan base because he's one of us. And he hears the negativity around the team. And, you know, it's amazing how the Yankees have completely turned their season around.
Oh, yeah.
Completely turned their season around. And there's a pride and there's a jump in their game and there's an excitement in their game. And you can't wait until the next game is being played so you can watch them because now all of a sudden they're stealing bases.
They're exciting.
Now all of a sudden they're making all the plays in the field. Now all of a sudden there are players like, you know, Velasquez and Rizzo. They come here that are local kids that are great defensive players and also coming up with a key hitter, a key stroke here or there. And I was telling Jerry yesterday, one of the things that is great about what happened to the Yankees, when they made the trade for Rizzo, they did so because they couldn't count on Voit. He kept getting hurt. He was on the IL, and they were getting no production out of first base. And they're putting LeMahieu over there, and the team was all screwed up. So they go get Rizzo. Maybe the best thing that happened, and unfortunately for Rizzo it happened, and I don't wish this on anybody, but he came down with COVID-19. And when he
one person you would wish COVID on?
No. And when he came down with COVID-19, especially him because he's unvaccinated and he's a cancer survivor, one of the things that happened was Luke Voit was not going to have a rehab assignment or stint in the minors. He had to come right back to the Yankees immediately. And if you remember, he went off, and he was the player of the week, the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
And he was pissed.
That's right.
He was pissed. He wanted Yankee fans to remember, you know, I know you got a shiny new toy over there, and he's a left-handed stick, and he's a smooth fielding first baseman. But, hey, I've been here, and I've been successful,
and
I've been productive.
When you were off that week, we were talking about it. I loved it. He was getting crap. I said, this is what you want from your players, damn it. You want guys to want to play and want to play well for the Yankees. That's right.
That's right. And every coach in every sport wants what the Yankees have right now. Number one, they have confidence. And number two, they do have internal competition. And the internal competition, if you have the right makeup as a player, you're going to respond to it. And Luke Voit is responding to it. Now you got to wonder when Gleyber Torres comes back, because it's almost the same situation. You have a local kid that came out of nowhere.
Who's living with his parents in the Bronx.
And he's playing his ass off.
Yeah.
And he's a fun guy to watch. And I also said to Jerry, I said, you know, Paul O'Neill can't stop gushing about Velasquez.
Loves it.
And I would say the same thing. So if you're Gleyber Torres, how are you going to react to this when you come back? Are you going to react to it like Luke Voit did and be successful and go out there and reclaim your job and be, you know, productive? Or are you going to sulk and you're going to like say, you know, I can't believe that, you know, the Yankee fan has already turned on me?
Yeah, I mean, both of these guys, though, it's not as if they were replaced because their effort wasn't there. You know, they've been replaced because they haven't been able to stay on the field and been healthy. You know, Torres a little bit, people had questioned where his head was at during the season when he was struggling. But like with Luke Voit,
defensively, and basically Velasquez is making a lot more plays than Gleyber Torres.
You hope that it lights a fire under him because you don't want any of these guys to be complacent. But it's not like you felt like Luke Voit was someone who had felt like, hey, I'm complacent now because I'm here and I've been here and everything else. He just couldn't stay healthy, for crying out loud. That's a totally different story, but he did take the positive out of that trade deadline deal, and he's made the most out of it.
But that's what you want. You know, every coach on every team knows exactly what I'm talking about, and that's what training camp is about for football right now.
Yeah.
There are guys fighting for jobs, and then when the coaches go to their meetings and they're in there with the general managers and they're looking at all the tapes, you know what else is going to play a major part as to whether or not your buddy is going to make the team or my buddy is going to make the team or a guy that I would like to have make the team? You know what's going to make a big deal at the bottom of these rosters? who's vaccinated and who's not. And Bruce Arians came out and said it. He goes, look, man, no family at the hotels, and we're not going out to dinner. We're not effing this up, essentially. We're going back, and we're going back to win a freaking Super Bowl. And, he put his foot down yesterday. And he said, that's it. I got more stringent rules than the NFL has. Be interesting to see how the players appreciate it, but if Tom Brady buys into it, then everybody has to buy into it.
No, absolutely. Does that mean since Kirk Cousins isn't vaccinated, does that mean that maybe he gets cut?
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.